Okay, so let's have a look at the JDXi patch editor and get some sound going on digital synth part number 1. So I'm just going to fire up the JDXi Manager. I've got the JDXi connected on USB, so let's just put it as the output MIDI device and the input MIDI device. And if I hit test, you can see we've got communication there. So if we open up digital synth number 1, and then I'm just going to put this to full screen. I've literally just powered up the JDXi, and I'm going to go to the user banks, which I believe start from E, and then I've got some stuff programmed on here. Obviously this is the Omen pattern that we're going to look at, but let's just go to a blank pattern for now. So obviously it's not very interesting at the moment, and let's have a look over here on the patch editor. So the first thing you want to do is to read from the JDXi. I know, even though it's the initial program, right? Let's just get into the habit of doing it. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the component parts of the synth as we go along and programming this first lead. So we'll do the lead that is in the Omen song. So if we look at the common section, we can see that name, pretty self-explanatory, and then the category. I don't think it really matters at this point what category you have it in, and then whether it's a polyphonic voice or a mono voice. So for now, let's put it on mono. So that means that when you press a key and then you press another key, the second key or the subsequent key that you press will override the previous key. If you put it on poly, obviously you can play chords, etc, etc. So let's just put it back to mono. We won't worry about ring at the moment, and we haven't got the unison on. The tone level is the actual volume of the voice, which we'll leave at 100 for now, and then analog feel, we'll come back to that when we start playing with the sound. So you'll notice that the digital synth has got 3 parts, or 3 oscillators that we can use to combine to make the sound. So let's for now concentrate on partial number 1, and most importantly as well, you can switch the partials on and off. So if you're ever playing with a partial, so you're on partial number 2 and you don't hear any changes, make sure you've got partial number 2 on, but let's leave it off for the moment. So let's go to partial number 1 and start adding in an oscillator. So what we're going to do for oscillator number 1 is have a saw wave, which is already on. Obviously you can select square wave, sine wave, etc. And then you can have various variations of the waveform, but let's keep it on wave number A for this part. We're going to detune it by -12. And then that is pretty much done. So let's go to partial number 2 and add it in. So we can, oh no, not edit select, but partial number 2. So we can see we've now got, let's just put that onto saw wave as well. We're now starting to get more harmonics into this voice because we've got 2 oscillators going now. So this one we're going to set the detune at +12. So obviously this is very fine tuning. This is not going up in semitones or notes. And then this just is kind of just separating that sound out and giving it more harmonic. And then also while we're here, let's just give it a bit of an analog feel. So that's sort of just kind of adding slight variables to the digital waveform just to give it an analog feel. And then let's just go for the, let's just adjust the wave shape a little bit, which seems to add a slight bit of distortion onto the signal. And while we're here, let's sort out the portamento. So at the moment, it jumps from 1 note all the way, as I'm going up to the, jumping up by an octave, straight to that pitch. So let's add a bit of a slide or a bit of portamento in it. So if we put portamento on, see how the notes now slide from one to the other, and let's just put the portamento time down to 10. So we can see we're sort of getting there. We're not going to touch the octave shift or the pitch bend range up or down at the moment, but what we are going to do is add a third oscillator. So let's just go to partial number 3, switch it on, and then for partial number 3 we're going to use a pulse code modulation wave, which pulse code modulation is basically a digital representation of an analog sound, so you can get like bell sounds or gunshot sounds, and sounds that are quite complex to make from the set of basic waveforms. So we are going to go for sync, saw sync, and then let's just see what we get. So we had that bit of crunchy kind of almost acidy kind of sound to the synth, and then the pulse code modulation gain, we can obviously add it by 6 or 12 dB. Let's just keep it on 0 for now, and I don't think let's just tune this down. So on your detune, just to add a little bit more harmonic. What I'm kind of playing with the detune here is, if you've got two people singing a song, you can kind of tell it's two people singing, not only because they've got different voices, because they'll never sing exactly right on the same pitch. So it sort of broadens the harmonic range and just makes it feel a bit more fatter, would be the most technical term I can think of. So we are almost there with this patch, and then obviously you've got the portamento going on there. Okay, so we're beginning to sound a little bit like the sound we plan to end up with, but let's look at the filter. So the filter on the editor is here, and it's also here. So at the moment we're on a low pass filter for each of the individual parts. You can see low pass filter number 1 and low pass filter number 1. So the way the filter works, I'm probably telling you to suck eggs, but it's always good to go through it, is if I play a sound, the filter is filtering out. We have low frequencies here and we have high frequencies here. If the left to right represented our frequency range, and the cutoff filter will close down, if it's on a low pass filter, the frequencies, so we only start to hear the low end. So if we just open this back up, and then the resonance is the point at which the filter is closing off. We can use it to like notch up or punch up the frequencies at that point to make it sound. Well, I'll give you an example. So if with no cutoff, and then we open up the resonance, you can see we've got these really high frequencies now punching up. And as I bring off the cutoff down, I've got to be careful this doesn't get too loud. Let's just put the resonance level down. At these kind of frequencies here, we're sort of notching it up. As the cutoff filter goes down, we're now punching these frequencies up as well. So you can see we get all these kind of whistly sounds, and then take the resonance back down, and we don't get those sounds being notched or punched up at the cutoff point. So what we'll do is we'll open the cutoff back all the way up, and we'll put the resonance down. Now the low pass filter, it's not really giving it that pop or that sizzle. What I like to use is the peaking filter. So with the peaking filter selected, you can see it's giving it that pop. So let's put the peaking filter on every partial oscillator or every oscillator part, and we should end up with a lot more sizzle. And again, the resonance controls how much of that sizzle it's given. It's not really working with the filter all the way open. So let's bring the filter down, and then we can sort of see the effects it's having. Obviously no punch, no sizzle, and then the peaking level, the resonance level, all the way up. But let's just keep it with the cutoff all the way open, and the resonance just at 9 o'clock. And we get that kind of colour or characteristic added to the sound. Okay, so I could go on and talk about the filter all day, but for this voice and this tutorial, we're going to keep it simple. Again, you can have a play with the filter until your heart's content and see what sounds you come up with. The only thing we're going to do now is just save this tone. So I'm just going to call this Omen Lead, and then the category, let's just have it as 34, which is a lead, and then I'm going to dump to the JDXi. And this is where you just have to be a little bit careful, because if we have a look at that, it's a bit bright. That's not changed, so let's just do a dump to again. Still not changed. So if we come back in focus, if we press digital 2 and then go back to digital 1, now it's changed. So the interface isn't perfect. It's got a few little quirks, but as long as you save, regularly save, you should be okay. So let's just save this pattern. So if I press, let's just back up here, Shift and right, and then it's called Initial Program. Let's just keep it as that for now. We're going to copy it to E19, which was my blank pattern that I started with. Yes, do we want to write it? Yep. And then that's job done. I know that's a little bit difficult to see, but we'll be covering saving patterns and whatnot in a future video. So let's just save it also onto the computer. So if we go to File and then Save As, let's just put it on the desktop. So yep, where's the desktop? There it is. Let's just save it here. That was an old one. Let's just delete that, and then let's just save that. Okay, it already exists. Let's just replace it. So we've now got a backup of that patch on computer. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that we've got a good patch now for the Omen pattern. I'll give you an example. I went a bit wrong there, but you get the idea. Alright, so I think I'm going to leave this video here, only because we've pretty much covered what we were going to set out to do, which is this Omen Lead. Again, if you're playing around with this and you can get it to sound better than I can or close to the original, please comment in the section in the comments below, and we'll have a look at it in a subsequent video. So we've covered the oscillator waveforms and how to adjust the characteristic of them using the filter. In a future video, we will look at changing the sound over time by using the amplifier envelope, the filter envelope, and the low frequency oscillator. So if you want to like and subscribe when I upload the section about recording this lead using the sequencer and adding the drums and the various other parts, I will link all the videos together in the description of each video. So you've come along, watch this, you can put the lead together. Oh well, how I want to do something interesting now and add the drums onto it. Once those go up, there'll be links in each video, so you can navigate around this tutorial series with ease. But again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.